stuff for you. So, I want to talk about this baseball issue that I mentioned, and it's again revolving around this coronavirus and the pandemic that or the breakout in baseball, and it has now branched out to the Cleveland Indians, and surprisingly, the Cleveland Indians players took a stand, and I announced in my news and updates that they had a very testy meeting amongst them, which I think was good for baseball and for the team right now. I'm going to read some quotes of some things that were said to some of these players. But if you don't know, there were two players for the Cleveland Indians who took it upon themselves to go out and party while they were in, I believe it was in Chicago. And they returned, very late, early morning, late night, early morning. And as I mentioned when I talked about the NCAA, I said, you talk about these teenagers. I said, look at the adults. Look what happened in baseball. And again, excuse me, with this baseball thing, these are adults. And I mean, some of them are just barely adults, but they're adults. Okay. And in general, you would expect adults to act more appropriately, but you can't always count on that with adults or with all adults. So, Cleveland Indians are the latest team to get swept up in this corona controversy. This time, it's after two pitchers went out partying in Chicago and returned in the wee hours of the morning. One of them was Zach Plesac, 25-year-old, who ironically is still trying to prove his worth in the bigs. He was the first name outed by his team. Okay, he was immediately sent home by car back to Cleveland. He issued an apology and was given some tough love by his teammates. All right. Now, here's what one of his teammates said, and this particular teammate was Shane Bieber. And I quote, "We love Zach." Righty, another pitcher, says, "We support him, but he screwed up. We're going to handle this in-house." Okay, Mark Murray, thanks for tuning in. I think what we kind of talked about as a team is we need to focus on one thing at a time, and that was the game. And so I'm proud of the guys for being able to handle one thing at a time and going out there and getting the win. But like I said, we're going to handle this in house and we're going to see where it goes from here. End quote. Okay. Um, so that was just the first player, okay, that they heard about. So Cleveland went on and they played a game. Okay. Um, but of course, it wasn't until days later that another standout pitcher was revealed that he was out with Plesac. But this was only after they played and they were flying home with he was flying home with the team. Okay? So again, we compare. We pull that scale out and we try to balance that scale. You got adults behaving like this. What do you expect teenagers to do if nobody's going to monitor them, scrutinize them, or chastise them? What do you think they're going to do? Okay. Another player, Adam Plutko, says, and I quote, "They hurt us bad. They lied to us. They sat here in front of you guys and publicly said things that they didn't follow through on. It's going to be up to them. It really is. I'll let them sit here and tell you how they're going to earn their trust back. I don't need to put words in their mouths. The term I continue to hear, and excuse my language, is grown ass man." Jackie Bridges, thanks for coming back. So these grown ass men can sit here and tell you guys what happened and tell you guys what they're going to do to fix it. I don't need to do that for them, end quote. Okay. Another superstar, Francisco Lindor, says, and I quote, "At the end of the day, we have to sit and look at ourselves in the mirror. And it's not about the person you see in the mirror, it's about who's behind you, the other people. We're in a tight game. Oh, excuse me. We're in a time right now with COVID-19, with racism, everything. This is the time to be selfless. This is when we have to sit back and understand this is not about one person specifically. It's about everybody. You have to go out there and understand it's about your neighbor and your neighbor's neighbors." End quote. Okay, so these guys got some chastising. They got some talking to by their teammates. And I have no bones or issues with this. Anybody that's tuned in, if you have any issues, please chime in. Facebook Live Sports Rap Radio Show is the group page where you can chime in. It needed to be done. I am glad that it was done. And I also appreciate the fact that the first player that commented said that they're going to handle it in-house. It needs to be handled in-house because it affects, like this last player just said, it affects everyone, not just you. Okay? So, again, you see how this played out. 2 players were out. 1 player came back immediately. He was found out he was out. He was sent home in a car. Didn't find out about the other one till they were on the plane together as a team to fly back home. We know what that could have been like. We saw how the Marlins situation played out. Initial reports, it was 4. Within 24 hours, maybe less than 24 hours, it was up to 13. A few hours later, it was up to 18. Then you had the St. Louis outbreak. Then another one. And now you have this one. But I think this one is brought to the front now because of the way it's beginning to be handled. I think these players that are speaking up or scolding their teammates, I think they have a right to do so. I understand that it will be in-house, but this story got out and their comments got out because obviously they were talking to the media because they were asked about it. But I have no issues with it. I, again, am glad that it was done because you don't understand or you didn't take into consideration that you could affect or you would have an effect on an entire team and coaching staff. Okay? You don't know who was out while you were out. You don't know all of those people. God only knows what you were doing while you were out. And you want to take the risk with your life, fine and well. Not condoning it, but if that's your situation, that's your cup of tea, be my guest. But you have to take into consideration if you're in this instance or if you're in this situation on a team, you have to take into consideration everyone else that could be affected by your senseless or selfless actions. You have to take that into consideration. Okay? Now, you've got an entire team that is going to have to be tested. They're probably going to have to be quarantined. And baseball is struggling enough as it is. Okay? This is just going to make it harder. Like I mentioned last week, they're having major scheduling issues because of these players or these persons that are not being cautious enough to respect that they are or could be affecting their teammates and other people. There's going to be another one. I can just feel it. I'm predicting it. There's going to be another one because, again, it's no bubble for baseball. And we see these 2 players went out. Who's to say that there won't be another team where they'll have 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 players that go out? And people, you have to understand it's a pandemic. And you also have to understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be you going out to a bar or going out partying at a club. Okay? I've been out because I have to go to work and I went to a couple stores. Okay? I have some other things that I need to do from time to time. I've been out And I've been in places where people are not following the guidelines to the letter like they should. I've seen people come in stores with their mask on because it says and somebody's going to say something to you at the door. And once they get in, then it's coming off. And don't get me wrong. I understand. It's tough. It gets tough to breathe when you wear that mask for an extended period of time. I mean, where I work, I have to wear a mask for at least 8 hours a day. Okay. And then when I come home when I'm off and I'm doing other things, still have to wear a mask. So I've kind of figured out ways to get my breaths in, get my air, and remove my mask when I can. But everybody's not as strategic as I am. Okay. Like I said, I've seen people in general that just don't do it. I've seen people that don't even have masks. Okay. Or they get to the store and then they don't have a mask and then they want to pull their shirt up over their face. Or they wear the mask and they don't cover their nose. Or they have the mask on and then they pull it around their chin. That defeats the purpose, folks. Okay? So again, I have no issues with Major League Baseball and these guys chastising their teammates. I think it's something that should be applauded in a small way because these two particular players need to be made aware of one, their mistake, two, their selflessness, and three, the effect that they could have had or could still have on the rest of their team. That some of those guys you may call friends. Okay? You going out having a party, having a good time, disobeying, guidelines and coming back and affecting your so-called friends or your friends, if you will. I don't think that's very friendly, folks. It's just my opinion. I don't think that's very friendly. So we will see what happens with this. This is, again, the most recent issue with baseball. And again, like I said, because of the first couple outbreaks, they have been having scheduling issues. And they're talking about what are they going to do? Are they going to have a postseason? I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but right now, in my opinion, it's no point. I don't think I'll talk about baseball's postseason until there is one, if there is one. Because again, we don't know. There could be other players right now on other teams that tested positive that we just don't know about yet. Could be other actions similar to this or other actions that we possibly don't know about yet. So again, I leave you with baseball being a mess. As I've been saying for the past several weeks, baseball is a mess, and I think it's going to continue. It's not going to stop here. I just think this was a great example of teammates stepping up and holding their other teammates that broke the rules accountable for their actions. Other than just the league saying, well, we're going to quarantine these players and then we're going to continue to test people and then we're going to continue to play. It's not that simple, people. Again, I applaud these players on the Cleveland Indians for doing what they did. Needed to be done. I'm glad they stood up, took a stand, and did it. I hope that if any other outbreaks come about, that other teams can follow suit and have one or two players, if not more, that will be willing to stand up and hold whoever broke the rules accountable for their actions. 11:51, folks. 51 minutes past the 11 a.m. hour. It's almost noontime. I will take a quick break right now. When I come back, we will get into our NBA playoffs preview, talk a little bit of Sixers, talk about how I feel about the series against the Celtics, and we will get to a little bit of each series. I'll give you my predictions on who I think will win each series coming up. I'm not going to give you a number of games, but maybe I will. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go through them rather quickly, and I'll give you my take on it. You are tuned in, SportsRap, Heat 100 Radio. When we come back, NBA playoffs preview.